Welcome to the EcoSystem app, your central tool for managing guest information, case meetings, and shelter operations at the Davies shelters. In this video, we will walk through how to enter new guests, update records, and navigate key areas of the app. Everything you enter helps us provide safe, coordinated, and dignified care. Structure. When you open the app, you will see the shelter calendar. This page will populate case meetings that you've scheduled, and as the app grows, will potentially show scheduled workers, staff meetings, and volunteer events. The navigation pane on the left-hand side of the screen displays all the areas of the app that you have access to. Each option in the guest management area of the navigation pane has two screens: Views and Forms. Views. After you click on an area, you will see a view. Depending on your security level and what part of the app you're in, there will be multiple views. Active views are the main views you will be working with. Each view shows the basic information you need to identify a record. Inactive views display expired information or information for guests who have been discharged. Forms. Forms are where you input and view more detailed information. Help pane. Select the question mark on the top right corner of the screen to open the Help pane. Here, there is helpful information on what each page is for and how to format what you input. The information you enter in the app is not only helpful to each guest, but is also used for reporting. Accurate information allows us to get more funding for the shelters and direct resources where they need to go. The more information you are able to put in, the more we can help guests and staff. Guest management. Now let's take a look at the guest views and forms. The active guest view is easy enough to understand. Current guests and basic contact information is displayed here to give you a quick overview. To view guests who have been discharged, click on the down arrow next to the Active Guests view title and select Inactive Guests. When a new guest comes in, you will create a new intake. On the ribbon at the top of the page, select the New button and a blank intake form will open. Complete all fields on this page unless it's truly unavailable. Guest data is used for shelter reporting only and is not shared outside the Davies shelters under our privacy policy. We won't go over every field here, just the ones that have particular formatting or need further explanation. Refer to the Help pane for details on all fields. Intake date should be the actual date of arrival for the guest. There is an option here to add a photo of the guest, but it won't be available until we save the new record, so we'll come back to that later. If the guest has been in the shelter before, check to see if their information is already in the EcoSystem. Toggle on the Return Guest option. The Return Lookup field will now be visible. Click in the field and type in the guest's name. If you do see their information here, click on it, and their basic information will populate in the form. Make sure to go over that info with the guest so all information is updated and accurate. Details of the guest's most recent discharge will also be populated, including whether or not they are eligible to return to the shelter. If the guest is not eligible to return to the shelter, the form will gray out and you will have to select whether to override the decision to not allow them to return and list a reason for that override. After you do that, you will be able to continue with the intake, and a message will be automatically emailed to the Executive Director and Operations Manager, notifying them of the override. For new guests, enter their legal first and last name. If they have a nickname or preferred name, enter that in the preferred name field. The complete name will populate in the full name field. If you need to edit the guest's name in the future, do so in the individual name fields. Phone numbers and email addresses are vital for communication with guests. Having both is best, but to be able to complete and save the guest, you must enter at least one. If the guest can't provide either, help them create an email address through Gmail. Do not enter a fake phone number or email address. We need some form of communication on file for emergencies. For added security, there is a button that is only visible by certain security levels that will enable you to see a guest's social security number. Case managers, operations managers, and the admin/executive staff levels will be able to reveal the SSN by clicking on the button. Other users will not be able to see the button, and the SSN will remain masked. In the ID field, enter the ID number, expiration date, and the state the ID is from, each separated by a comma. Toggle on RPH or Thor indicators if the guest is participating in one of those programs. Demographics. Enter the best fitting information about the guest. For gender identity, select the guest's outward presenting gender identity unless specified differently. Intake actions. Toggle on each item once the document has been signed. Keep the signed documents and upload them to SharePoint after the intake meeting. History section. In this section, select the options that best fit the guest's circumstances. Here are the definitions you need to know. Homeless circumstances explains why the guest needs shelter now. Previous location, length of stay, how long the guest stayed at their most recent location. Prior location, the geographic location before arriving. Times homeless in last 3 years is how many separate times the guest lacked a place to stay in the last 3 years. Upon arrival fields indicate if the guest had specific resources before their entry into the shelter. Chronically homeless. Select yes only if the guest has a disability and has been homeless for at least 12 months continuously, or on 4 or more occasions in the last 3 years, totaling at least 12 months. Time in an institution under 90 days counts if they were literally homeless immediately before entry. Arrest details, list felonies and misdemeanors with the year of conviction. Probation requirements, any documented actions or details of their current probation. Make sure all sections are complete and saved. Now you can add the guest photo. Select Add Photo to upload an image. Use the shelter phone to take the photo, move it to a computer, then upload it here. You can remove or replace the image at any time. Quick note, fields that are related to children are hidden until you select the women's shelter for the shelter location. Once you select that the guest has children accompanying them, you will then see the fields to enter how many children there are in the same area as the emergency contact information and the parent policy in the intake action section. Shelter location field should automatically populate with the shelter that you are associated with. But if it doesn't, you will need to select the location to see bed assignments and children-related fields. Next, we proceed to the Health tab. Next to the Summary tab, click on the Health tab. When you save the guest information on the Summary tab, a health record was automatically created and filled in here. If you don't see it here, click inside the search field to find it. If it hasn't been created, select the New button. You should now see the health information form and medications list. Again, we won't go over every individual field, but here are the things you need to know. In, list allergies. List all known allergies, the reaction they cause, and what to do if an allergic reaction is triggered. In, list disabilities. List all known disabilities, limitations, and accommodations needed. In, list mental illnesses. List all known mental illnesses, limitations, and accommodations needed. Counseling services, mental health assessment, and recovery services are fields that are up to you and the guest to decide if they should participate in. Selecting counseling services option will email the lead counselor on staff to notify them of the request. Selecting recovery services or mental health assessment will auto-add associated goals under the guest's goal list. For any allergy, disability, or mental illnesses the guest has, Enter details on reactions, accommodations, or anything else the shelter staff needs to know in the notes field. The more detailed, the better prepared the staff can be in an emergency situation. Under medications, list all medications that the guest has brought with them. All information should be entered exactly as written on the medication itself to avoid any miscommunication. If a new tab opened when you started filling this form out, click Save and Close. If you are still on the main guest page, but under the Health tab, click Save. Now click on the Children tab. You can, of course, skip this tab if the guest does not have any children with them. And this tab is hidden if you are doing a guest intake for the men's shelter. For each child the guest has, click in the Child Info field and select New. This will open a blank Child Info form. Complete this page for each child. In case of any outside request, information about the child will only be given to anyone that is listed in the Authorized Contacts field. Health and medications information is optional, but must be filled out if the child has any allergies, disabilities, mental health conditions, or medications. Existing guests. For existing guests, click on the guest's name in the Active Guests view. The existing guest form will open with all information from your intake meeting or the information from the last save. Intake information is still available and editable, but it's on the last tab now. The new Summary tab will look different than the intake form. Under General section, you will now see the phases. Only the current and fully completed phases will be visible. The Phase 1 section should automatically be populated. Listed here are the requirements needed to complete the phase and move on to the next phase. As these requirements are completed, make sure you click the toggle button. This is a great way to show guest progress. These phase sections are available in multiple areas in the app. You can edit them from any of those places and it will update on each section. Phases 2 and 3 are the same, but with their specific requirements. Once a phase is completed, the next phase will automatically populate. You may need to wait a minute and refresh to see it. The center section of the existing guest form is the timeline. This area is programmed to update as specific things happen. It will display recent case meetings, phase updates, infractions, general notes, and completed goals. The goals and resource grids will display any goals and resources that have been assigned to the guest during a case meeting. It's not recommended to edit either of these from here. We will go over how goals and resources work in the case meeting chapter of this training video. The Health, Children, and Intake tabs in this form are the same ones we went over in the intake form. The Phase tab is the same information that's listed on the summary page, but arranged differently. The Contacts tab displays full contact, children, and demographic information for the current guest. The Events tab has two subgrids. The first is the Infractions subgrid, which lists all infractions for the current guest. You can click on them to expand and see the details. The Guest Wins subgrid lists all the positive events and accomplishments for the guest that you have documented during case meetings. Discharges. On the existing guest form, click the Discharge button on the ribbon at the top of the page. A pop-up will open to remind you that completing a discharge will set all records related to that guest as inactive, which will make them uneditable. When you're sure you are finished with any records related to the guest, select Continue. A blank discharge form will open. The guest's name will already be populated in the name field. Fill in the rest of the fields with answers that best fit the situation. Remember, the notes you enter here will open if the guest ever decides to return to the shelter. So, be clear and detailed about the reason the guest is leaving and what, if any, stipulations should be checked in the event that they return. Once you have completed the form, click Save and Close. If you see any of the guest's records in the active system areas, refresh the page. Now is a great time to mention that this app is something that has been created with the ease of the case manager in mind. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. That's the full guest area for the EcoSystem app. Beds, room assignments. Let's check out the beds/rooms area next. This is a very simple area meant only to see which beds or rooms in the shelter are occupied and by whom. This page is fully automated. You shouldn't have to do anything here unless you're moving people around. If you are making changes or adding a new guest and this page hasn't updated, refresh the browser a couple of times before reporting a problem with the app. You will need to remove the current occupying guest from that bed or room before you can add someone else. To see the information about a specific bed and its occupant, click on the bed number. You should now see the bed or room information, basic information about the occupant, and a list of any children in that room. After a guest has been discharged, this area should automatically update. Remember to refresh if you don't see the changes. That's all for the beds and rooms area. The next most detailed area of the app is the case meetings area. Click on the case meeting option in the navigation pane. This area is basically 2 pages nested together. The active case meetings view will display all active guests and a single case meeting record. There should only be 1 case meeting record here per guest. You shouldn't need to create a new case meeting on this page. You can also see the case meeting count and the number of weeks the guest has been in the shelter. Each guest should have at least 1 case meeting per week, unless they are on the 3rd phase. Each case meeting should be fully documented. To see each individual case meeting, click on the name of the guest. On this new page, you will see very basic information, all goals and resources, and a list of all case meeting records associated with the guest. This is a good time to revisit existing goals, note progress, and mark accomplishments. Let's look a little closer at how to create goals. In the Goals List section, you will see any goals that have been assigned to the guest. Goals consist of 3 levels. The goal itself is a general accomplishment that the guest needs to complete. Action items are specific actions that the guests need to do to complete a goal. Needs are particular items that are necessary to complete a goal or an action item. Select New Goals. A blank goal form will open. Keep the title short but descriptive. The ID field is read-only. It's for imported goals, actions, and needs that have a specific order. When revisiting the goals later, make sure you mark it accomplished when it's been completed. Enter the start date of the goal. The number of and unit of time fields work together to populate the goal's due date. If you want the due date to be in 2 weeks, type 2 into number of and select weeks in the unit of time dropdown. The due date will change automatically. Our goal system is based on SMART goals. In the Help pane of the Goals page is a short video on what SMART goals are. Here's how they apply to our system. S is specific. Title, description, and notes are available spaces to write details. M is measurable. We only set goals we can prove are completed. A is actionable, using action. Items and needs show specific steps to reach the goal. R is realistic. Listing the barriers that may prevent you from reaching a goal help ensure that the goal is realistic. T is timely. Including a reasonable due date gives you a deadline to work toward. There are more fields to help direct the guest and help access the resources needed to complete the goal. After you save the goal, you will be able to enter action items and then needs. Select a new action item to open a blank action item form. Fill in the action name, description, and any notes or links needed. Save or save and close. Select New Needs to open a blank needs form. Needs can be attached either directly to the goal or to the action item. Just make sure that the guest name, action item, and/or goal fields are filled with the correct respective record, or they won't show up on the guest's page. The easiest way to make sure that needs are matched up to both the goal and the action items is to create the need from the field on the action item form. As long as the action item has the goal field filled, both records will be automatically related to the need. Otherwise, you can search for the ones you're looking for. To create a new case meeting, select New Case Meeting from the expanding list at the top of the Case Meeting History subgrid. On the New Case Meeting page, under the General tab, a few fields should already be populated: full name, case manager, and phase. Before you do anything else, enter the date of the meeting under Meeting Date and Time. Only enter the date, not the time. Once you've done that, the page will automatically refresh. It may take a few seconds. Once that refresh has happened, you can change the time of the meeting. Note the case meeting ID at the top of the page. It should show CSMTG dash and a number. Remember this for later. The next case meeting field is the one that will make future case meetings show up on the shelter calendar. Talk to the guest about their schedule and plan the next case meeting date together. Enter general notes from your meeting in the Notes field. The Guest Wins section is where you can record positive accomplishments and events for each guest. It's a small way to celebrate progress. No win is too small for this area. Also, after the refresh, you should see blank forms under Employment and Income and Benefits and Resources. You don't need to spend a lot of time here, but this information is vital to our tracking for grants and impact numbers. If the guest link and case meeting fields are empty, click inside the field and select the guest name for guest link, and select the same case meeting ID that's shown at the top of the page. If a budget is created during the specific case meeting, toggle that on. If a budget has already been created, ask questions to see if the guest is keeping up with it. Toggle the correct option based on if they adhere to the budget or not. Under Benefits and Resources, toggle on any of the resources that the guest has during this current case meeting. Remember to ask about new or expired benefits. Click Save. Phase tab is the same one we saw on the existing guest phase tab. Update any completed requirements. Click Save. Time for the Resource List tab. This page is simply a grid full of resources. They are arranged into several categories: adults with special needs and seniors, basic human needs, business and employment, children and family, civic organizations, community engagement, homelessness and housing, and physical and mental health recovery and support. Click on the name of the resource to see more details. When you want to assign a resource to a guest, double-click in the empty copy to column directly next to the resource you want. Select the same case meeting ID that you see at the top of the page, and that's all. The system will copy this resource over to the guest's personal resource grid. It will also email the details of the resource to the guest. Common Goals. Last in the case meeting area is the Common Goals tab. The Common Goals tab was made to save you time and energy. While each guest that we have in the shelter is a unique individual, there are a lot of common things that guests need to accomplish to create a stable life. I took the time to research some of these goals and pre-input the goal and associated action items and needs. Each common goal, action, and need has specific directions pulled directly from the source. You see a guest who needs one of these common goals, find the goal on the list, double-click to select a general intended completion time, and then select the case meeting ID, and it will copy the goal and all related actions and needs to the guest's goal grid. Back on the General tab. At the bottom of the Employment and Income section, when you select Budget Created, a new Budget tab will appear at the top of the page. save the case meeting record before going to the Budget tab. On the Budget tab, there should be a blank budget form already populated in the Guest Budget field. If there isn't, refresh the page. In case of an error where the guest budget isn't populated, click in the Guest Budget field and select New. On the form that opens, the case meeting and guest name should already be filled. If you saved the case meeting after you filled out the employment and income section, those fields will be moved over as well. This table is based on a basic personal budget sheet. If any options need to be added or edited, let me know. Fill out each field that applies to the guest in the income and expense areas. The total income, total expenses, and difference between the two will be calculated in the top section. Once you save this page, you will be able to access it on the case meeting page. If your guest has an active budget, you must select whether the guest has adhered to it on each case meeting in the future to be able to effectively see their progress. When you do case meetings in the future and select the budget adherence field, you'll be able to see the guest's track record for past adherence on the small table within the guest budget form. Don't edit the original budget if the guest's finances change. Create a new one, save and close. That's the case meeting section of the app. Remember that complete and accurate information is one of our policies at the Davies shelter. The more you put into the app, the more you and the guest will get out of it. Infractions. Now we have the infractions section. It's important that we are able to see records of behaviors from guests as detailed accounts of incidents to protect other guests, staff, and the organization itself. The Active Infractions view will show infractions from currently active guests. Once a guest is discharged, the infractions for that guest will move to the Inactive Infractions view. You'll be able to see a list of infractions and a count of infractions for each guest in various areas of the app. Only case managers are authorized to deliver infractions, but night managers can detail the events in the Guest Interaction Event area of the Nightwatch section, so case managers can deliver the infraction meeting later. To create a new infraction record, click New at the top of the page. Be sure to fill out all fields, be as detailed as possible. The ID of the record is read-only and will generate automatically after the record is saved. Find the name of the guest using the full name dropdown, and then add the date of the meeting. The infraction date will be the day the issue actually occurred. If there is a Nightwatch record that references the infraction, make sure the full name field is filled. Click in the Nightwatch field and select the corresponding record. Stop here and allow the page to refresh itself. Connected fields between the two records will autofill. If the fields aren't filled, you might have to refresh the page. Details, as written by the employee, will be connected to the infraction record, and anyone who is referenced will show up in the reference subgrid after you save the record again. If there is not a Nightwatch record, make sure that you fill out the fields with the information you get in the meeting and list anyone who is related to the incident. Include details from the guest's account of the incident in the infraction details, as well as details from other observers and participants. Make sure you indicate what the result of the infraction is. Like the Nightwatch area, once your record is saved, you can select New Log Reference in the reference subgrid to associate any guests or employees with the infractions. If the incident was reported by a night manager, they need to document it as a Nightwatch record as well. And we're done with the infractions page as soon as you save and close. The Nightwatch option on the navigation pane will take you to the central communication hub. Per our policy, a daily log is necessary to communicate events that happen during each shift. Night managers and case managers are required to review guest and shelter updates in the daily log, which, here in the app, is the Nightwatch area. On the Nightwatch view, each staff member can see authorized documented events that have occurred recently. At the beginning of every shift, click on and review all events from the last 2 days. To create a new Nightwatch record, click on the New button and a blank Nightwatch form will open. Enter the date and time of the event you're describing. Select the event type and your name. Then pause and allow the page to fully refresh. Each event has different fields for you to give the necessary information. Here are the events we have listed for you to document. Daily log. This space is for general notes and observations from your shift. Each shelter staff member should add notes by the end of every shift. Phone calls and messages. When you answer a phone call that you're not able to handle yourself, get the information of the caller and their message and enter the name of the staff person who needs to see it. The message will appear in their Nightwatch view. Visitor. If someone comes to visit a staff member or guest, enter the name of the staff member or guest, the name of the visitor, the time they arrived, and the time they left. Guest interaction. This area is here for sharing important interactions you have with guests. You can use this to notify the case manager of any rule breaking so they can address it. You can also share any positive news or behaviors. It's just as important to document the good interactions. Meals. To better track the amount of food that is being consumed, document all meal information here. Don't worry, this is not to discourage eating or portion sizes. If we can track how much food is used, we can make sure the shelters stay stocked. Donations. Donations need to be documented to be able to send thank you notes and tax receipts. While filling out the section, type the donor's name into the contact search field. If they are not listed, click New and fill out the form to add their information. Make sure to fill out the rest of the fields here too. They are important to tax information. Medlog. This section is where you will enter any medication distribution or document any medications that are brought in. All information related to medications must be fully documented to protect guests and staff from medical mistakes. When you enter a new medication or a refill, count all individual pills, note if the container has already been opened, and enter all details for the medication exactly as they appear on the original container. Food and item requests. When you're running low on food or supplies, or if you need any new items, let us know here so we can get more to you as soon as possible. Safety, emergencies, and inspections. This area is for any emergencies, emergency drills, or security issues. Check the help pane for exact documentation needs for different types of issues as documented in the policy manual. Intakes/discharges. New guests and discharges will automatically be shown on the Nightwatch view for staff to see the necessary details of people entering or exiting the shelter. But for night managers, this space is to document anyone who arrives or leaves when a case manager isn't present. Staff to admin request. This space is to help communication between the staff and administration. You can use this area to request pay stubs, request time off, give feedback or report issues with the app, or make confidential reports about guests or other staff members. Once you select this event, you can see the option to make your message anonymous. This is a very general space, so make sure you're detailed about what you need. Check the help pane for more specific details on what to enter for each event type. When creating a record, use the reference subgrid to add the names of anyone who's involved or needs to be informed. Click here and select New Log Reference. A side panel will open and you can search the names of any existing, currently active guests or employees. Click inside the Person field and find the name of the person you are referencing. Use the Involvement field to choose why they are referenced. Add any details specific to that person and click Save and Close. Back at the top of the page, click on the MedLog tab. For adding a new record of a medication distribution or to add a new medication or a refill, use the MedLog event in the Events tab. The MedLog tab is just here for staff to be able to see recent medicine distributions to avoid issues. Remember, each of these fields is here for a reason. No fields should be left blank unless they don't apply to what you're doing at the time. And of course, once you're done, click Save and Close. Waitlist. Officially, the Davies Shelter's policy is that guests are accepted. First come, first serve. So, the waitlist area is mostly used to keep the information of anyone who is interested in a bed and document any communications with them up until their intake. Click New to start a new waitlist record and fill this page out in as much detail as possible to make things easier later. Original contact method is for noting how the potential guest first contacted the shelter. Preferred contact method is for noting how they would prefer being contacted in the future. Find out if the person is up to date on their flu, tetanus, and COVID vaccinations. Let any new people on the waitlist know that we highly recommend getting these done before entry. Each of these can be obtained at the Department of Health. You're able to see who created and who last modified the record and when, in case it's needed. Once the record is saved, you'll be able to use the timeline to keep track of your contact with the potential guest. Click on the plus sign at the top of the timeline. Select the type of correspondence and fill out the form. Each form is very short, and we only need the basic overview of the communication. When the record is created, the waitlist status will be waiting. Once the person makes it into the shelter, you can change the waitlist status to intake, and it will move their contact information over to a new guest record, and you can do the intake meeting. If correspondence dies out, you can change the status to inactive. Scheduler. The Active Schedules page will display records that are already made. Click New to create a new record. On the Scheduler form, click in the Employee field and select the employee's name. Click in the Pay Period field and select the pay period you're scheduling for. You will see the start and end dates of the upcoming pay periods. Each pay period covers 2 weeks, so the week you're scheduling for might begin in the middle of the pay period. After you have the pay period, click in the Dates field. Pay periods begin on Mondays, so you will see the 2 Monday dates associated with the pay period. Select the beginning of the week you're scheduling for. At this point, the page will refresh. Wait until the day fields are populated with the dates within the week. This could take a few moments. Once the page reloads, you should see that each day of the week has a date entered. Each day the employee works, select the start date and time and the end date and time of the shift. The date time fields will show the date above. We know employees often work overnight, so if that's the case, the ending shift date and time will allow you to pick the following day. Once you have the full week's worth of working days entered for this employee, save the record. For each day the employee will work that week, you will see a calculated duration for the individual date and a calculated total duration field for the entire week, calculated in hours. Make sure all the hours add up. In the background, a calendar event will be created for each shift where the employee is working. Links to those events will fill in the fields beside the durations, but will take a few minutes. Back on the shelter calendar, you will see each shift you've scheduled. Counseling Reportings. On the Counseling Reporting view, you can see all of the records that have been put in before. To protect privacy, there is strictly basic information on the View page. You may also only see information that you have put in. To create a new record, click on the New button. Select your name in the Counselor Name field. Then, select the date of the session. Enter the duration of the session, measured in minutes. Fill out the rest of the information based on the type of session and how it went. No one other than the counselors and the app system administrator can see the details entered here. A section will be revealed here where you can add client names as attendees. Ignore this for now as we investigate our responsibilities for client data security. If there is anything else that we need to add, please let me know. The remaining areas of the app that we haven't gone over are all already nested under existing pages. This is mostly to make accessing the information faster. The buttons on the ribbon and inside the views and forms that we haven't gone over are not programmed to work in the app the way the system needs them to. During your time with the app, there may be things you uncover that seem like shortcuts, but please only operate the app in the way you've been shown on this video. The automation that's been built in the app is only designed to work in the way you've been shown. If you access, create, or modify things in a different way, the automations and app features won't work as you expect. If something isn't working, text me right when it happens so I can check on it and correct it. Don't look for new solutions to make it work. Managing records in the app may seem tedious, but please remember that everything built into the app is designed to help us improve operations and secure more funding. Failing to use the app or use it as directed will hurt our ability to collect and use information. Each section of this video will be embedded in the help pane so you can access it when you need to. Thanks for watching.